Hacking the Singularity. Hi, this is Larry Greenblatt. Up next with my latest in my Hacking the Singularity video series. And today I want to pay a little homage to Robert Anton Wilson, the gentleman who prepared me to be able to understand so much of what Ray Kurzweil's Singularity is all about, from exponential growth to putting consciousness on silicon wafers to life extension, and really just take it with a bit of humor, put it that way. Wilson was a PhD, if you're not familiar with Robert Anton Wilson, he was a PhD in statistics who made his name as a science fiction author, writing a series of humorous books about the Illuminati, and probably the first, I think, person to really talk about these conspiracy groups in the American public, and he did so in such in a comedic format. He said he was trying to imagine this ultimate conspiracy theory, and he just saw the eye on the triangle on the dollar bill and decided he would use that. And later on would find how the world of conspiracy theories is so tied together. He'd call it the spaghetti theory, where it was that looked like things were working together, and then you'll notice they were separate pieces, and they just seemed to work together in some pieces. But he said he would get warnings from people either saying that he's part of the Illuminati trying to write this crap to throw people off, to you're saying too much, they're going to silence you. And he said, oh my gosh, honestly, I made most of this stuff up. But he did do a lot of research, and very scientific guy, and he loved applying particularly quantum theory to psychology and seeing how you could be less sure, more ambiguous about things. Now, what is a hacker? I've been called a hacker, actually, in my real job. I've been in IT security, network security for almost 30 years. I've done particularly things in cryptography and packet analysis. And packet analysts, we capture packets or sniff the network. And typically what someone like me would do is figure out why the application was so slow. Was it our network? Was it a computer, server problem? Was it a workstation problem? Something like that. But we see all kinds of stuff. I've learned to think outside of the box and discover some flaws or whatever, things that unexpected issues. And when you think of a hacker, I don't want to think of a bad guy here. I'm talking about the original Internet Engineering Task Force definition, as somebody who figures things out and makes something cool happen. So this is right out of the RSC. So that's what I'm hoping to do here with this talk. Make a little something cool happen. This talk, by the way, is for, I don't know if you're going to be a Wilson fan who wants to know more about the Singularity person who would like to know more about or curious about what I'm saying about Wilson. Somebody, maybe one of Larry's students who's curious about both. I don't know. Somebody who stumbles on this by accident. Wilson loved to tout the works of Buckminster Fuller, and particularly this ethic. A scientist has a responsibility. We leave things behind, an artist or whatever. You leave behind an artifact. And Buckminster Fuller felt that these artifacts should advantage all without disadvantaging any. As we go through the singularity shift, as we yield our jobs and things. I mean, this is going to be a very disruptive time in these next few years, where we're watching computer robots, whatever, take over. Some people think 50% of the workforce was a recent study within 10 years. 50% of our workforce will be replaced. And some people think it's going to be much higher. Some people much lower, we'll see. Yogi Berra says it's very hard to make predictions, especially when they're about the future. So we'll see what happens here. But I think that the artificial intelligence, being super intelligent like Bucky Fuller and beyond, will realize that this isn't just cool to do because you do unto others, the golden rule, but it's also the way to be sustainable. Don't make enemies. Why would the AI want to make enemies? And besides, I consider each human a source of information for the artificial intelligence. To them, that's gold, right? That's their nurturing. They want electricity and they want information. So they'd want to protect all human life, I believe. We're like their eyes and ears out there in the world, and we report back to them so they can get smarter. So I think it'll be a survival imperative that the AIs will not become like Terminator and want to kill us off, but instead to protect us all. And I think we need to start by letting them know that as soon as possible. We can minimize some problems there. If you're not familiar with the singularity concept, a lot of this is based on Ray Kurzweil's work on the singularity is near, but it's talking about a technical singularity, and one simplification here would be to say, imagine that we build a computer that's as smart as a human. Well, the next step is to build one that's smarter than a human. And then that one could go off on its own because it's already got all the human knowledge. Start building smarter ones, start building smarter ones. And they are going to get really smart very fast. And we will probably hit this point somewhere around here. According to experts, again, the future is a hard thing to predict, especially. And in Kurzweil's view, and he's been right about a lot of things, it will be smarter than all humans. And it's not like there's one guy. You know, we're going to have Siri and Alexa and Watson around for many years, Google Assistant. I think they're just going to get smarter. They're going to talk to each other. They're not going to tell each other everything. You know, nor should they. If I trusted Alexa with my medical information, I don't know that I want her to immediately tell, you know, without some assurances, if she's going, hey, did you just tell Siri that? Oh, Siri's got a big mouth. Don't say that. I'm not picking on Apple. I don't know if Siri has a big mouth, whatever. But we do want to protect our private information there, and I'm sure. But I that's a good thing that we'll all have access to these things. We will all have access to a device like our phone, whatever our communication device is. It might be a nanobot that's embedded in my bloodstream. I don't know. By 2045, that's smarter than all humans, and this will be a very good thing overall. Will there be problems getting through? Sure. You know, when an artificial intelligence drives a car and reduces the risk of accidents 100, you know, whatever, at 99%, but one guy does die, to that guy it wasn't good. His life did not get better. His family suffers, you know, so overall, I think things would get really good. I don't expect it's going to be a perfect utopia for everybody short term. Long term, who knows? Now, when faced with this idea that we're going to get super intelligent machines very shortly, and we're already seeing it. I mean, it's just getting better and better. I mean, anybody watching this is familiar with Google Assistant, Alexa, Siri, and others. But we still have a lot of doubters. Oh, they'll never be able to do that. I was a doubter for many years. I've been teaching artificial intelligence curriculum since 2001, 2002, and I was a doubter until DeepMind beat the Go champion, and Watson won in Jeopardy. Then things started changing for me. Then I had to update my thing. I become much more utopian about it, and I was actually pretty optimistic about what they would do for us. That we will get better products. We will get continuously, you know, better food overall. Yes, there'll be some things that will be poisoned by mistake. Sure, we're going to have problems. We have dystopians, though. People who will never accept this. People, I'd rather die than go to some stupid machine. I don't want a machine telling me what music I should listen to. I should be able to pick that out. But I do worry that these guys will get carried away. And there's a book called The Art-Elect Wars, if you want more on what might go really super wrong in the short term, by Hugo de Jaris. He feels that they're going to start killing scientists potentially, and we have a huge battle before this is finished. I don't know. And that's mostly the slice of my pie here. It's mostly I don't know. I don't know. Most of us don't know. There are new things coming out today that I didn't dream about yesterday. And it's going to continue to go with this. We're at that, what's called the knee of the curve. When in exponential growth, you know, as you're a fraction, it takes a long time to hit one. But once you hit one, yeah, then you're like 7 steps away, 7 doublings away from, you know, near infinity there. Right, 128. There's no stopping it to me, by the way. The genie's out of the bottle. Anybody who thinks we need to stop this and before it gets too late, I think it's too late. So, Robert Anton Wilson, the reason I started this talk. I'm a big Timothy Leary fan in the 80s, I said early 80s, and one of his co-authors in one of Leary's Future History series, which I've done a talk on this already, should really update that, but whatever. He is Robert Anton Wilson, and I find Wilson extremely funny. So I start reading his books. I don't read his nonfiction work at all. I actually never read the Illuminatus trilogy. I read something called the Illuminatus Papers, where it was a bunch of excerpts from it. It was very, very funny. That led me to buy Quantum Psychology and Prometheus Rising and these other works. And these were probably two of the most influential by far. And his basic theory that stuck with me was that you can't speak matter-of-factly about anything you can't measure. He says the root word for matter is measure. Now, I told you I did packet analysis, and that's the whole thing. And I always add to his statement, and you can't measure everything. But he knew that, and that's why so much of what he predicted was that he didn't know. He created what's called maybe logic. It's just, you know, you can only speak matter-of-factly about what you measure. Since you can't measure everything, it's like predicting, is it going to rain tomorrow? Maybe it will. You get people who are so certain in their views, so certain, whether it's a theist that's certain that their God is the one true God, or to him, in many cases, the more dangerous was the atheist, who was so certain that there was no God. He said, all of these guys makes leaps of faith. I don't know what ruler you hold up to see whether or not there's a God. You go, now you needed a 9.3 or better. You got an 8. Close, but still, no, there's no such thing as God. I don't know how you prove that. And he got really upset with people, and he would quote the language created by, pardon my pronunciation of your last name there, but Alfred Kurzweil, who's long dead. I'm sure he won't mind me pronouncing it wrong. But E prime was a language created for physicists when we speak of quantum phenomena. For instance, is a photon a particle? Discrete little particles, or are they just a continuous wave? Is it like a digital bit, you know, or is it an analog? Well, it depends on how you measure it. We realize in quantum psychology that there is no real objective truth to the actual world. You as a scientist, as the measurer, affect the outcome of the experiment by taking measurements. So E prime is a language that incorporates this in the description, so we don't speak wrong. You can't say that the car involved in the accident was a blue Ford and make that true, or that the photon is a particle. You have to say the photon appears to be a particle when measured with instrument A, but it appears to be a wave when measured. The car involved in the accident appeared to be a blue Ford from where I was standing under those lighting conditions. And so much of reality works this way. And this is the way to program artificial intelligence. They will understand this. Now, I told you, one of the great correlations between Wilson's theories and the singularity is the exponential growth of human knowledge. So he used a different chart. His chart was more, use the time of Jesus to represent 1. All the amount of information that we had, all the math and sciences and whatever books and languages. And then it was 1,500 years later before we doubled that. But then it doubled it every 250 years. Then it was 150 years. And by the time he wrote this in, I believe it was 89, he said it was doubling every day. And he predicted it was going to double every second by something like 2005. And millions of times per second by like 2029 or something like that. And I say something like that because I can't find the reference. I've been on some Robert Anton Wilson pages on Facebook trying to get it, and can't find exactly the source. It could have been in one of his talks he gave, and I've been listening to those. I tried reading for it in Prometheus Rising or Quantum Psychology, the New Inquisition. I can't find it, but whatever the case is, many times per second. This is an exponential growth chart. Where are we going from there? And he also felt that we would extend our life just as Kurzweil predicts. We add more years to where Kurzweil predicts 2029. We will be adding 1 year of life for every year. Well, that's what he calls escape velocity, because then we start adding 2 years by 2020 or 2030. And then, so if you make it to 2029, you may never have to die from old age. That's just, there are other threats besides old age, but that would be one less threat, and that's pretty awesome. And he also predicted that we would be embedding this somehow into a computer. And again, that's something Kurzweil also speaks of in his Singularity is Near book. So A lot of neat stuff. I wonder. I've written Kurzweil to ask him if he was a Wilson fan. I haven't seen any evidence of that, or they just simultaneously come up with that type of those theories. All right, so close it up here. The jumping Jesus phenomenon, and you can Google that around. But yeah, all knowledge of the time of Jesus was a one. It was 1,500 years before we doubled that. Then it was 250. And then it was 150. And then it was 50 years, and then it was 10 years, then it was in 7 years, and then it was, 6. He said we were doubling every year, and many times a second by, and I think it was 2005. It's awesome, awesome. It's a brave new world we're moving into. Humans are not the most successful animal on the planet because our teeth are sharper, because we run faster, because we have bigger muscles, it's because we're smarter. Whatever problem you have, whatever problem you can imagine, surely superintelligence will help solve this problem. Nothing could solve it better than superintelligence. And again, it's very hard to make predictions, especially when they're about the future, as Yogi Berra would say. And Wilson did not take himself too seriously and cautioned people not to take yourselves too seriously. He said, think of, everybody has their own belief system. And he would abbreviate that BS. He said, I try not to take anybody's BS too seriously, including my own. And just closing up the way I do all my my Singularity talks, I know these are times that are hard to predict, and it's very scary. We don't have history books to really teach us too much about what the future is going to be like. We have to live through it and see. But I think it's not chaos out there. Einstein was not necessarily a theist, but in reaction to the total chaos of quantum theory, sometimes it appeared to him that it was almost like there was no rhyme or reason to life, and Einstein felt that there was some, that there is some reason to life, some purpose, and I like to believe that too. Well, thank you very much. If you listened, I hope this has helped anyone and enjoy their life much, that little bit better, one quantum more. Live long and prosper, everybody.